Okay, hopefully you're feeling good here inside Photoshop CS5. We had a look at Mini Bridge and we had a look at the full Adobe Bridge CS5, and then we saw how to go about customizing Photoshop in terms of the workspaces and the keyboard shortcuts and also the menu items. Now, the next topic that I'd like to discuss with you over the next little while is using Photoshop for layout. Now, I will say that this is not necessarily an ideal situation. Usually you'd want to use a more dedicated layout application like InDesign, but I have used Photoshop for layout when I'm in a pinch. So I'm going to show you a lot of cool things, and specifically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use Photoshop for print layout first, and then in a little while I'll use Photoshop for web layout. So in other words, we're going to design a web page here inside Photoshop. And I just want to make it clear here that if I have a choice between InDesign and Photoshop for a print layout, I would definitely go with InDesign first. It's really built to handle a print layout. But you know, when it comes to a web layout, there's really no problem laying out a web page here inside Photoshop. In fact, Photoshop is quite good at it. In fact, if I had a choice between Photoshop and InDesign for a web layout, I would definitely choose Photoshop. So, if you're new to all this stuff, that probably sounded really confusing, but the bottom line is InDesign for print design if you can, and Photoshop for web layouts. But in any regard, we're going to use Photoshop for a print layout here to get started, and I thought it would be super cool to design a CD or a DVD here with you inside Photoshop. So in other words, the label or the printing that would actually appear on the disc. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go and set up my file. So I'm just going to head up to the File menu and then down to New. You can hit Control-N or Command-N if you want, the keyboard shortcut there. If you want, you can give your file a name. I'm going to call this Jeff's Disk Design. You can name yours after yourself if you like. And what I want to do is I want to set my width and height, my dimensions here. So I'm going to set my guy here to 120 for width, but I want to use 120 millimeters. So I'm just switching my unit of measurement here to millimeters. So be sure to do the same there. And then I'll also set his height to 120 millimeters as well. Okay, perfect. The next thing that I'll do is I'll make sure that my resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch, or PPI. And my color mode, now again, because this is a print layout, I should be using CMYK, which is our print color space, but I'm really not sure where I'm going to be printing my disk. Maybe I'll do it on my small disk printer that I have here at home, or maybe I'll send it out to a service vendor. So for now, I think what I'll do is I'll stick with the RGB color space. So go ahead and set your color mode to RGB and then click on OK. Okay, perfect. Good stuff. Now, the next thing that we'll do is we'll set up Photoshop's unit of measurement.